In this video, I'm going to show you how to capture stunning action photos using the burst mode of your iPhone. Now, burst mode is one of my favorite iPhone photography techniques, and it is really powerful. What burst mode allows you to do is essentially capture about 10 iPhone photos per second, one after another, without even having to think about it. Now, the reason I like burst mode so much is because it allows me to capture those really special moments in my photos that might perhaps only last for a split second. But because I'm there, in position, capturing a lot of photos quickly using burst mode, I can be confident that I'll get that exact right shot that I need and that I won't miss the right moment. So that's the power of burst mode. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how to use burst mode, how you can use it to capture some really powerful, really interesting action shots, and I'll also show you how you can review photos you've captured using burst and how you can quickly discard everything you don't need so that you don't fill up your iPhone with too many photos that aren't necessary. Okay, let's get started. Now, if you look at the screen of my iPhone, you'll see that I've framed up the scene and I have my two brothers, Robert and David, as our models for this video. So we're going to attempt to record a jumping shot. So the idea is that they'll be jumping up in the air and I'll try to capture the best moment using burst mode. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about the light. Now, you'll see that we're shooting on the beach in the middle of a bright sunny day. Now, usually this isn't the kind of weather you'd want for photography, but for the specific shots that we're doing, I'll try to frame them up so that the beach is in the background and also have the blue sky in the background. And I think that could result in a pretty interesting shot because in the foreground, I'll have my brothers who also happen to be wearing bright pink clothes. And I think that's going to create a really strong photo with beautiful, strong, saturated colors and high contrast. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Now, another thing that's worth pointing out is where my brothers are standing. You'll see that they're standing on this little hill, and I placed them there for a reason, because I want them to be higher. Now, look what happens as I start to get lower. You'll see that now the framing is totally different. I no longer see the beach at all, and that's actually a good thing because I want to simplify the scene as much as possible. And you'll also see that essentially I've framed up the shot so that my brothers only have the sky in the background. That's only possible because I'm down low and they're a little bit higher. So I'm shooting up towards the sky, and that way all they have behind them is the sky itself. So now that I'm happy with the framing, I'm going to give them a cue and I'll ask them to jump up on cue so that I can get that jumping shot. Now, at the same time, I'll be activating the burst mode of my iPhone. So in order to activate the burst mode, I'll need to take that shutter button on the left and I'll need to drag it up towards that little preview of the photos I've recently taken. Now, if you're holding your iPhone in a different orientation, you still need to drag that shutter button towards that little preview of the photos you've just taken. Now, I know that sounds kind of confusing, so let me show you exactly how to do it. Guys, ready? 3, 2, 1, jump! All right, did you see it? Just before they started to jump, I dragged my finger up towards that preview of the recently captured photos. And as I was doing that, my iPhone was quickly capturing a lot of photos, one after another. And you could even see the number counting up, showing exactly how many images I've captured. This time, instead of dragging the shutter button up to activate the burst mode, I'm going to do something else. I can also activate the burst mode if I simply tap and hold my finger on the volume up button on the side of the iPhone. This can be particularly convenient if you're shooting from a lower angle, because then this button can be at the top of the iPhone while the screen is pretty low, so it's more difficult to reach. Okay, are you guys ready? 3, 2, 1, jump! So now, let's open up the Photos app and let's take a look at the burst mode photos we just captured. Now, inside the Photos app, you'll see that any burst mode photos that you've taken look like a stack. So it's kind of like a stack of photos, one on top of another. If I tap my finger there, I've now opened just one stack or one set of burst mode photos. So at the top left-hand side of the screen, you'll see burst 39 photos. So that means that within just a few seconds, we were able to capture 39 different photos within one burst. So 39 photos sounds like a lot, and if I keep doing this a lot, my iPhone will be full very soon, right? Yes, but fortunately, Apple makes it really easy for me to select my favorite photos and discard everything else. So let me show you how to do that. At the top of the screen, you'll see the select text. So I'm going to tap on select, and now I get to choose favorites. In other words, I can choose which photos I like, so which ones I'm going to keep, and I can also choose which ones I'm going to discard. So to quickly go between these photos, I can use the slider at the bottom of the screen. If I use that slider at the bottom, you'll see how quickly I can scroll through these images. Now, I'm only interested in the photos where they're jumping, so I can ignore the first few. And if I now look at those jumping shots, I'm going to try to pick one where they are as high in the air as possible. So I think that would be this shot. So if this is the shot I want to keep, I would select it by tapping at the bottom right-hand corner of the shot where we have this white circle. As I tap my finger there, the circle becomes blue, and now I've selected this one photo. If I want to keep two images, I can select another one, and when I'm happy with my selection, I can tap on Done at top right, and now I'm given a choice. So I can either keep everything, or I can keep only two favorites. That is the option I recommend that you use. However, when I hit that button that says keep only two favorites, all the other burst mode photos will be discarded. So once I tap that, all the other photos will be gone. So make sure you do your selection carefully. All right, so I'm keeping only two favorites, and now all I have left on my iPhone is two shots and everything else is discarded. Now, let's look at this shot one more time. What's definitely working in our favor here are the bright colors. So you notice that my brothers are wearing pink, and that color really stands out against the blue sky. So that is working in my favor. I like the fact that I have pretty much nothing but the sky behind my brothers, so that definitely helps. I like that I've been pretty much able to hide that beach, which was honestly just a distraction in this frame. So I'm happy about that. But what's not working here is the jump itself. I wanted to create a kind of photo where they're jumping really high in the air, but if you look at this, that's not the impression I get. So what I need to do is give my brother specific instructions for how they should jump. Specifically, I'm going to ask them to bend their knees like this as they're up in the air. And if that's what I do, there's going to be more space between the ground and between their legs, essentially. So if their knees go like this, it's going to look as if they're flying high in the air. The other thing I'm going to ask them to do is to also lift their hands up like this as they're jumping. If they do these two things, I think the jump is going to look a lot more epic. So let's try this again. Okay guys, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, jump! Okay, let's see how that worked out. So I'm in my Photos app now, and once again, I'm going to tap Select at the top of the screen. Now here, I'm going to use the slider at the bottom to navigate this view, and I'm only interested in the jumping shots, so that's where I'm going to pay attention. Now you can immediately see how this time the jump looks so much higher, and that's because I asked my brothers to bend their knees and also to raise their arms. It pretty much looks like they're flying in the air, so I definitely want to keep this photo. I think that's pretty much the highest shot of this jump. I think this one more to the right is kind of interesting as well. And honestly, I'm going to keep several just to be sure, because once I choose to keep only my favorites, a lot of other photos will be discarded. So I always tend to be a bit more cautious and select more photos rather than fewer ones. Okay, I think these 5 are the ones I'm interested in, and that pretty much covers the entire range of the jumps. So I'm going to tap Done at the top right-hand corner, and I'm going to choose to keep only 5 favorites. But the one photo I'm specifically interested in is this image right here. This is the image where my brothers are highest in the air. You'll see that their knees are fully bent. It pretty much looks like they're flying, and it looks like the jump is really, really huge, and that's because of where I've positioned myself to be lower than they are, and also because they bent their knees while they were jumping. So I'm really happy with how this shot turned out. Now, if I was trying to do this without the burst mode, this would be a really challenging shot. I'd probably have to try like 10 times until I hit the shutter at the exact right moment, and even then it probably wouldn't work out so well. So by using the burst mode, all I had to do was just activate burst mode once, and I could be confident that I'll catch that exact right moment when my brothers are at the highest point. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. But now, let me show you one more example. So for this next example, my brothers will be playing soccer, and they absolutely love doing this. So I hope I'll be able to capture some of that enthusiasm in my photos. Now, my brother David will be the goalkeeper, while Robert will try to score a goal. As they're doing this, I'll be capturing one long continuous burst mode photo. And I might capture 200 or 300 images while I'm doing this, and that's okay with me. What I'm really hoping to get though is that one perfect shot where a goal is being scored. So burst mode is my best chance to do that. So to capture this, I'm going to be leaning down just a little bit like this. And the reason I'm doing this is twofold. One, I want to make sure that I have more sky as the background behind my brothers. So I don't want so much sand in my frame, I want more sky in the background. The second reason is that this is a soccer scene. So what they do with their legs is going to be really important in these shoots. And if I'm shooting from a lower angle, those legs are going to stand out more. I'll see the legs better, and I think I'll be able to capture a more interesting shot if I just lean a little bit lower. All right, you guys ready? Action! Now that was pretty crazy, but hopefully I got that shot. So this is the burst I just captured. So I'm gonna tap on select at the top of the screen, and I'll scroll through the action. And as I'm going through these photos, you'll see that this almost looks like a movie, except those are all high quality, full resolution photos. And it's quite incredible that the iPhone can capture about 10 of these per second. But let's see what we have, and I'm gonna scroll from left to right, and whenever I see a photo that catches my eye, I am going to favorite that image. All right, so here we have some interesting action. Perhaps this shot will be one of my favorites. It is a bit of an unusual position, but again, I want to be conservative. I want to keep more photos because once I discard them, I won't have them back. So it's better to keep more than to keep too few. All right, let's keep going through this. So here the framing isn't quite working, so I'll skip past these. I think this is an interesting shot. We don't see the goal here, but we do see my brothers, and I quite like that. And actually here, the ball is kind of in the air and it's sunlit, so that makes for a better shot, so I'll keep this one. And I think the shot is approaching, so I'll keep this photo. He gets off the frame again, and now look at that. He's ready to score. Look at this shot. That looks pretty epic, so I'm definitely keeping this shot. You can see how much power and determination goes into that kick, so this is a great shot. I think I'll keep this next one as well as this one. And a goal is being scored here. So I'll keep all the shots around the goal, at least all the good ones. And I'll keep the last celebration shot, just to be sure. So now that I'm happy with my selection, I'll go ahead and press done, and I'll choose to keep only my favorites. So now all I have left on my phone are the favorites I selected, and the remaining photos have already been discarded. And while I saved a lot of photos, just to be sure, there's one photo that really stands out to me, and that is this image right here. You can see how much effort and how much power goes into that kick. And this is literally seconds before a goal is scored. So these are the kind of photos that professional photographers would shoot if they were tasked with shooting a soccer match. So this is the kind of image you'd see in a magazine perhaps. But because of the burst mode, I was able to capture it right here on the beach with my brothers using nothing but my iPhone. And that's really powerful. Now, as much as I love the previous two photos that we captured, I don't want you to get a wrong idea about burst mode. It's not just for jumping shots. It's not just for soccer or action sports. Burst mode is one of the most useful iPhone photography techniques for any kind of photos where you have movement. For example, often we'll find ourselves in a situation where we frame up the shot and then we're waiting for a person to walk through the frame. So that person is the subject and we want to position that person in the frame as well. In situations like these, the body posture of that person really makes a big difference. Now, if we get lucky, we'll get a good body posture where the person is in full stride. Essentially, that means they're going like this. So their legs are apart and their arms are kind of apart and they're not overlapping in any awkward ways. That is a full stride. But when someone is walking, most of the time, they won't have a full stride. Their legs might be crossed in an awkward way, or otherwise their body position might not look in the best possible way. So if I have a subject who's walking through the frame, that's definitely a time for burst mode. Let me show you why that is the case. Okay, I've framed up the shot, and as my brother is entering the scene from the left, I'll make sure I start capturing a burst. I'll keep tracking my brother as he's making his way through the scene. And now, let's take a look at the photos I just captured. So this is the burst we just captured. I'm gonna tap on select at the top of the screen, and as I scroll through these images, you'll see how my brother was walking through the frame. And you'll quickly notice that not all of these shots are the same. For example, this shot right here has a problem. You'll notice that my brother's legs are kind of crossed in an awkward way, and also his arms don't really stand out. So that's an example of a poor body position. But let's look at something better. So here, his legs are wide apart, and that already looks better. So I'll select this image as a keeper. All right, this is even better. You'll see that these two shots are positioned in such a way where his legs are wide apart, and also his left arm is swinging at the same time. So that makes the arm stand out more, and I think it just looks better in the frame. But let's look at what else we have. So as I keep scrolling to the right, I think this shot could also be a keeper. And here, as we go further and further to the right, I'm no longer as happy about my composition. I think I like the previous images better. So I'm gonna stick to this selection. I'll tap done, and I'll only keep my 4 favorites. Okay, so there you have it. This is how you can capture incredible iPhone photos using the burst mode. It's one of my favorite iPhone photography techniques. I use it all the time, and I can't tell you how many incredible iPhone photos I would have missed without using the burst mode. It's a true game changer whenever you have any kind of movement or any moving subjects in the frame, and you want to make sure you capture that exact perfect moment. This could be a jumping shot, it could be sports photos, or it could just be a person walking through the frame. All of these situations are perfect for burst mode. So if you want to catch that exact right moment where your subject is in the exact right position, make sure you use the burst mode of your iPhone. This video was a free preview of my iPhone Photo Academy online course. In this course, you'll discover everything you need to know to take stunning photos with your iPhone. So if you'd like to take the kind of photos that will leave your friends and family speechless, please take a look at the full version of iPhone Photo Academy. You'll find a link in the description right next to this video, so click on that link right now, and I'll see you inside the full version of the course.